We're up at 6:30. It's the City of Brainerd. It's Personal and Finance Committee meeting. Everybody is present. We'll just leave it at that. Item number 1 is the approval of bills and transfers of funds. Is there any discussions? Okay, hearing none. Is moved to approve by Madden, second by Pritchett. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2, payments to contractors. There is none this month. Item 3, the city civil attorney contract approval of. I don't know if you all got an email. Is this, we're asking this to be pulled off of? No. Okay,
Not
just
this
a bunch of questions.
Not on the city.
Okay.
Number 8.
That was on 8.
Yeah.
I thought it was on both of them. Isn't it funny how they can't get their own agenda done, and they want to get involved in our stuff? That's our friends at SP&W. All right, the civil attorney contract, city civil attorney contract, as you know, came up when we did ask us to be moved along. It's a 2-year contract. Hourly costs and rates are the same for 2014 and 16, but the retainer goes up, correct?
Correct. For 16.
For 16 to 44,000. That's the kind of the minimum.
Yes.
Expectations are we're going to pay. We could. Well, you don't know what you're going to pay, but
We expect to pay about $85,000 this year
This year.
in
Okay.
2014.
And historically, with your previous attorney, you've been running about 92, 94 for several years straight.
okay. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Pritchett, second by Madden. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 2014 audit services. Anything you want
We're just asking that you approve the engagement letter and authorize signatures. There is no dollar increase from the 2013 audit, which is estimated to be $45,500, and that is the airport pays about $2,000 of that fee as well.
to? Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the audit services for 2014 for Clifton, Larson, and Allen?
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Madden, second by Pritchett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Motion carries. Adoption of the 2015 budget and levy resolution. I don't know if you want me to, if anybody here wants to go, you get a pretty good letter in here. Pretty explicit, and you all know where we're going, but I don't want to cut off any discussion.
The only one thing, if there's a glitch at all, is that we didn't have it on the regular agenda also, but because it's on your agenda, we figured it would be good enough, but
Yeah.
we'll work on correcting that.
Plus, we're going to find out where 3 votes are right now.
And the only other thing about this last paragraph where we're talking about reducing the debt levy, we did talk to Mr. Steinman and he made the recommendation and we concurred to actually lower the bond amount by $100,000, so we really need that amount in there for the prepayments now.
Okay, because that's where I had the question, just to explain this a little bit better, so.
Right, so we received $132,000 in prepaid assessments. We had $100,000 to pay for the principal and interest payment for next year. We could have reduced it by $100,000, but instead, based on the recommendation from Mr. Steinman, he suggested that we actually lower the bond that we're borrowing by $100,000.
Okay.
So we do need the $100,000 in there now. The payment's still going to be around that $77,000 to $80,000. So I mean, there's $20,000 there if you really felt the need.
So this verbiage has got to change to reduce the levy. This verbiage has changed, right? Okay.
Right,
so
that
do
whole
we-
scenario has changed now.
So do we need to make that correction now? Is that what we're doing? Is that what you're going to state?
I haven't made, nobody's made a motion yet, so as far as I know, the only motion we need is how much, correct? So,
But if you had questions about possibly changing the levy amount, I think that's what Dolly was saying or asking about, other than that. whether or not you wanted to reduce it by the $100,000 due to the debt. And I'm saying that now that cannot, I would not recommend that at all, because we have lowered the amount that we're going to borrow. That last paragraph, Kelly, where it
Yep.
says the current portion of the debt levy.
Yep.
I was saying we had $100,000, $132,000 in prepayments. You could lower the debt levy by that $100,000 if
Right.
you wanted to. But since this was written, we've talked to Mr. Steinman and we've lowered the amount of the issue. So this is kind of void.
Right, so don't lower your recommendation is not to lower the levy by the 100,000 because we are lowering the amount of what we are borrowing to pay for the projects
Correct.
by that amount.
Correct.
But you still can lower the debt levy if you want to. We can make it zero.
But by making, we're applying it towards prepayments, is what you're saying. Is that what I'm understanding? In layman's terms, I just need it to be very simple.
Not
for me.
anymore.
Not anymore.
Right now, we have $32,000 in the debt service to pay for the debt. We expect the debt payments for next year to be around $80,000, but we have $100,000 currently in the debt levy. So you could lower the debt levy by, say, $20,000, and you would still have enough to pay for this issue.
Okay.
The debt levy is a portion of the question before you. On the next page is a resolution. So what we're saying is the 2015 preliminary levy was set at $4,898,835. We're suggesting that you put that number in the blank spot in the middle of the next page. Then you add in the $116,550 for the HRA, which is a separate part of that.
One more time on that HRA number.
$116,550.
Okay.
So that's already included there. So
Yep.
it's adding those two numbers as that is staff's recommendation going forward.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. You're comfortable with why staff is recommending not to take the $100,000 in
I am
prepaid?
comfortable with that.
Okay.
Not in prepaids, but
Yeah.
reduction of the levy.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Most importantly to me, I mean, this is just the most recent activity that we're talking about. The fact of the matter is we have a $14 million budget. You have a almost $5 million levy, and so that's the primary action tonight. This $100,000 plus or minus is a minor factor.
Yeah.
You guys have been working since July of this year. I mean, just on meetings specifically related to the budget. You've had, I think we counted almost 5 workshops and 5 regular city council meetings dedicated to talking about the budget. And so you guys are, we assume, pretty thoroughly knowledgeable about it, because that's why we didn't include a 100-page document included in your packet.
Again.
Again,
All right, we've got a motion to recommend adopting the resolution to the city of Brainerd to set the final levy at $4,898,835 plus $116,550 for the HRA. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we need to adopt the budget tonight? We don't need to, but we should, I think.
I think we have to.
yes.
Yes, you have to
Yes,
adopt
you
the
have to.
budget.
Okay.
Adopted before.
Yep, it's not a line item, but is there any questions on where we're at with the budget? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt the budget as we left it 1 week ago? So moved by Matten, second by Pritchett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 6, Fire Department. We got a couple of issues. We'll take them one at a time. One is the resignation of paid on-call firefighter Joseph Musel.
Yes.
All right. Any questions on that? That will. That's a consent counter item. But is there a motion to accept with regret?
I would make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Matten, second by Pritchett. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, Chief Fire Engineer Officer. What is that? Is that E? Is that the E?
Fire equipment operator.
Equipment Operator.
Fire equipment officer, oh boy.
PO staffing.
Fire equipment officer, yeah.
You
As
got
you
it.
can see, Mr. Corey Zine is here. He's the one that's been backfilling Mr. Dunneman until he went out on retirement and/or was terminated. Our recommendation, as you can see from many memos over the last 3-4 months, and now since it sounds like the 2015 budget is going to be adopted, the 2015 budget does include 5 equipment operators, which would include Corey. So my recommendation very strongly is not a want, but a need to keep our services at a high level that our customers expect. Also, I think a side note is that the Fire Advisory Board, which met in October, had a lengthy discussion about fire equipment operators and how we operate and what we do. And their recommendation on a 5-2 vote was to keep 5 fire equipment operators at least through the shared services study, which hopefully should be done this spring. So again, my recommendation would be to allow Mr. Corey Zion to continue to work based on the budget that's hopefully going to be approved tonight with 5 fire equipment operators in it.
Any questions of the chief?
Just one question, the recommendation keeping at least through spring in regards to the study. What would be the impact on the study if we weren't to keep Corey?
I can't answer that, Dave.
Okay.
My recommendation, if the budget's being approved tonight for 2015 and it includes 5 fire equipment operators, keep them for 2015. See what the study brings us, good, bad, or otherwise, because it is already in the budget.
It's my understanding, if I can tell.
Please.
That the study is primarily based upon equipment and the sharing of equipment, not the full-time officers in Crow Wing County.
I wouldn't say it would include the full-time equipment operator, but it does include a section there on staffing, whether it be Brainerd, Crosby, Nisswa, whoever's participating in that study will take a look at the staffing needs and issues and hopefully come back with a recommendation, which could obviously affect Brainerd Fire and or whatever.
Connie, anything?
I have nothing. There are 5 in there, plus some unemployment in the current budget.
And our reason for placing it on tonight's agenda was based upon the letter that was sent out recalling Mr. Zion. That's why we wanted to place it here. Last meeting, the council terminated an employee, so that created the requirement to take action at this meeting. Or if the council wants to give us direction, wants to study it some more, we can do that. But I think you were involved in some studies that were done a couple years ago pretty extensively.
Yeah, I just told our administrator, I was sort of surprised that there was even any question. Because we made the decision, and I mean, it took a year and many public hearings to decide to have full-time fire equipment operators. Yes, is that what those are?
Yes, it is.
And I voted against it, and then I listened for 6 months, and I voted and I changed my mind, and the council had voted against it and changed his mind. At that point, when we made the decision that we were going to have a combination staff, I think it was primarily a level of service difference. And when we found that the money wasn't going to change virtually at all, if not go the other way, possibly, then and with all the articles that we barely touched on in their meetings about the difficulties in staffing the firefighters, the volunteer firefighters, it just made, there was just so many reasons why the council then changed. Not only myself, but the council changed. I presumed this would be a no-brainer. We got a guy, he's done this is almost like a freebie. We've got a guy we don't have to go through and find out what he can do. We know he's the perfect guy for the job, and we know we're short-handed in the fire department, and you can play, you don't have to have the chief tell you, because you can play back the 150,000 times he's told us that on tape. And so I would like to move forward with moving him up this evening. So
The current trend in the fire service, and I can show you articles almost on a daily basis, the current trend, not only locally and statewide, but nationally, is it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers or paid on call people, just because employers now aren't as flexible in allowing them to leave. So by allowing us to continue with the 5 equipment operators, there's a lot of things we can do without paging out paid on call staff. And it just makes sense. And like I said, just a need that I think Brainerd in a service area really needs to take a look at.
And just to be clear, the people watching, this isn't adding a position at all.
This is not adding at all.
I have a question.
Yeah.
By putting this before this personnel and finance now, if we go upstairs and there's 3 other members that say, or 4 other members that say, we're not approving the budget right now, we want to look at other things to cut or modify or whatever, this is off the table then. By approving it right now, I'm assuming, or by bringing that recommendation upstairs to say, yes, we've approved the budget, because I guess my question is it's not a big secret that one of the things that I had suggested was going to 4 full-time FEO staffing.
Right.
So my question is if we are approving to keep Corey on at this point, and then we go upstairs and the consensus is we're not going to approve the budget as it is, now we look at where are we going to save on, and we go right back to the drawing board as to where our cuts are going to be or where we're going to make those, and I just think we just shot ourselves in the foot by approving this and having to still discuss the budget. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're thinking, but it could happen the opposite too. We could approve the budget here as
Yep.
we just did.
Yep.
We could approve bringing Corey on to fill the slot, as I've suggested, and go upstairs, and the council could not approve the budget and approve him coming in as well, because we really have till December. Well, yeah, December 31st.
And there's no more meetings.
Well,
No more
that's
scheduling.
not
Okay,
necessarily
okay,
true either.
okay.
Right? We could schedule one a day. So, yeah, it's possible. What you're suggesting is possible. What the request is tell us what you three want.
Well, I
So
guess
if you think that we shouldn't do this, that's why
right.
we.
And part 2 of my concern is, you bring up we'll be able to evaluate it in springtime again, and then and I always like a trial basis for everything to see is this working out? Are we able to finance it? If we're able to do all of that, then fantastic. But if we find out our grants or money that we tried to set aside for a 5th person isn't covering it, then what happens? Can we address it again at that point? I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to as far as in the springtime and
Well, I guess I
reevaluating,
just,
reassessing.
like I mentioned, if the budget is approved currently the way we sit here today, that includes 5 fire equipment operatives, which would get us through 2015. The Fire Advisory Board, again, and I hate to just keep beating that, they voted to keep 5 fire equipment operators. Understand that there's a lot of other entities out there, other than Brainerd and Baxter, that have recommended this. When you look at the numbers, I think Brainerd is about 45 or 48% of that budget, which means the other percentage of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Connie, is paid for by the townships, Baxter and all that, which they have recommended to keep the 5 equipment operators. Now, the shared services study, it will address staffing needs. Now, is it going to address specifically the full-time guys in Brainerd? I don't know that. I don't know how the study is going to be prepared. NISWA is the host for that. We're just a participant. But I know that they will be addressing staffing, equipment, trucks, all of that kind of thing. And I think by not approving this, we're going backwards when we should be going forward. And again, like Dave said, we aren't adding staff. We're trying to keep our current staffing levels so our service areas and the service we provide are as professional as we are, and we are professional.
Pat?
I would only point out that when we prepared the agenda, this isn't the first time we've done this, and so that's why we put the budget and levy first before this position, because if this would have created some consternation with a discussion, it wouldn't be beneficial to have it before, so that's why we put it after that. So we do believe there may be some discussion on this or the other topic, so
There could be topics on any budget
yes,
from here on out, even with an approval of the budget.
recommendation.
The budget is a moving document for the whole year. So the main thing tonight is adopting the levy, or adopting the resolution
dollars.
for the levy, and then the budget as is, and we can make amendments to the budget later on.
And I've got a question.
Yeah.
It sounds, I might be mistaken, but part of Dolly's concern might be, are we tying our hands? If we agree to this, are we able to terminate the contract if we were to decide not to keep
You guys can
5?
reduce the
So it's
budget.
not a set time, he's hired from here to here,
Well, all 5 individuals are in the budget. So if the city council went to 0 or 4 or 6, you would amend your budget at that point in time.
Okay.
To adequately address that.
and that was part of your concern.
Yes, that
wasn't
was my concern. You just say it better. Thanks.
it? Simpler. That's the way I think.
Okay.
The school teacher.
I don't believe there's a motion on this one yet.
There is not. I wanted to make sure that we all got the chance to have our say.
Are we ready?
It's always a concern when I hear
Yeah.
rumors of, we have the capability of starting our own fire department. You know, that's always a concern of mine. And then I say, wait a minute, what are we doing wrong and what can we be doing different? So I'm looking in the long run to save the entire.
If I could just say, I appreciate that comment, Dolly.
Yeah.
But I've been around the fire department a long time, and I can tell you for many, many years that rumor's been going around. We'll start our own. The entities that may be saying that, and I'm not going to say who may or not, the financial burden to do that is tremendously high, and I'm just going to throw millions of dollars with the training and the trucks and all of that stuff.
It was in the paper. It was Baxter who said it.
Right.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
So
it's public
it's one of the
information.
articles I read that Jessica didn't write. I don't read that many.
You know, Baxter has
Well, and it was
thrown that out for years and years and years. And we still move forward and everything is the way it should be.
But if it doesn't and something does change, I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't want to feel so complacent that we aren't going to do something about that. You know, we need to preserve in order to survive. I guess that's my greatest fear, and I just want to be able to look ahead, and rather than just
that's my job as a department head to do that, and I can't predict the future like I can't predict the weather.
But I think it's the job of the city council to
Absolutely.
depend wholeheartedly on your experience, your expertise, and you know, it's real easy for somebody to come back and say, I made a mistake. You know, that grant, it didn't get covered, and it didn't cover, you know, so now what? You know, so, I mean, yes, you're the department head, but it's the council that becomes responsible.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason I bring that up. That's all I have.
You can talk as long as you
No,
want.
I
This
don't.
is your
No.
last time. You
I
let her
know.
go. You let her snap. You know, can I, and I know we want a motion and we want to go eat cookies.
I think we should eat them all before they're done.
I want to just mention something about we can always start our own fire department. I certainly wouldn't mind to read this in the paper tomorrow. If somebody told me that they could get better fire service somewhere, I'd be worried. The fact that they're telling me they can get it cheaper, but maybe not as good, but they want to take the risk. I think that's the best we could ever hope for in these times, because there's always somebody who will do it cheaper. I'm sure there's some guy that will show up with a bucket if but I've made that comment before. I don't want that guy when my house is on fire.
I'm a visual thinker.
I want the Brainerd Fire Department to come to my house, and I want them to be there as fast as they can and put the fire out. That's what I want. And I don't want, that's what I want. And I want the best that money can buy. And I think if we have the money budgeted, we owe it to our citizens to provide the best possible fire service. And I'll go on the record saying I wish we could afford more.
Amen.
But now, the likelihood is we may not make it through 2015 without having to cut personnel. I don't know if that means the fire department or other things, but at this point, we have this guy covered. And I think we either need to make a decision on this guy. There's the other side of the coin, too. How many roller coasters do you want to put our guy on? Mm-hmm. You know? Well, we'll hire you for another 17 days. You can't do that to a guy. I don't know if he has a wife or kids or anything, but eventually you have to make a commitment. You have to make a little bit of a commitment to your employees as well. And I think that's another part of the discussion we don't often have when we start talking about the money. No, if we don't have the money, we don't have the money. But it is a double-edged sword. So, okay.
Real quickly on the whole thing, two people leaving. If the fire advisory board is 5-2, one of their big concerns was that we listen to them, and if they're sending 5-2, that's not a very close vote. I think if you go against that, you're showing more of a sign that you're not listening to what they're asking.
Yeah. All right. Donnelly, you want to make the motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? So is there a deadline, is there a date, or are we just filling the position with Corey Zine? That's my question. You made the motion.
I did, and I really do need to think about that.
I know.
You need to know what I would say? You
I
probably
know
don't.
what you would say.
Can't,
In perpetuity, no. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, if we look at that study in spring and we decide that we can't afford, don't need, or
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
There doesn't need to be a date on
Need
this.
to put a date
No,
down.
I don't think
Not
so
gonna
either.
put
it
a
doesn't
date on there.
handcuff us if we don't.
All right.
Okay, there is no date on this, we're just moving, the recommendation to the council will be to move Mr. Zion, to make him full-time and eliminate any contingencies on his employment, on the unusual contingencies.
So you're gonna recall.
Yeah, we're gonna recall Corey Zion.
Sorry.
Yep, to fill the Donovan spot. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Fire fees, the chief has a really nifty memo on this, but if you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this point. I have not heard back from Eric. I'll probably reach out to him again by the end of the week. I'm sure he's very busy, and I don't know where his priorities are. It's probably not writing a resolution ordinance at this point for the fire department, but I hope in time we can get that through and get it
That's
done.
just an FYI at this point.
Yep, all it is.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah,
on that?
absolutely you can.
I know we're looking at the potential of generating some of that revenue in regard to being able to charge the insurance companies, which they're
Correct.
charging out anyway. Could that be in the future something that is extended to the townships and the other?
We have
areas
thrown
of
out that
service?
carrot at our last fire advisory board meeting for them to take that back to their boards and start having that discussion. Because in the event we could do that, that's going to generate a lot more revenue, which will help support staffing and or whatever. So absolutely.
And this is where the chief and I disagree somewhat, because that would be their own fee charged to keep themselves, not the city of Brainerd.
I'm sorry.
We can only collect fees in the city of Brainerd.
Gotcha.
Unless, I think the attorney's exact words were, unless they agree to allow to
Correct.
transfer all the fees
Correct.
that they correct and give them to us.
So it's not a done deal. It's
So the townships
discussionary.
would be collecting those fees, not so
They should
much
be
the
doing the
city.
billing.
Yeah, we would
Gotcha,
not
then
be-
they'd
They
be
do
sending,
the collecting.
got it.
We'd have to amend our contract service agreements with
Okay.
them, plus they would have to adopt the same resolution as the city of Brainerd.
Okay.
And this Baxter representatives at the meeting said they were not
Gonna
interested
do that.
whatsoever.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, thanks for the update. Item 7, Congressman Nolan, District Office Lease. I think we're going up $40, correct? Anything else that we need to know?
$40 a month.
$40 a month. We're just-
Yeah, I know,
we're
I
making
still
it
figure
$1.
that out at $1 a square foot and a parking spot.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Pritchett, second by Madden.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion carries. Item 8, the workman's comp renewal improvement of, this is the one that's gonna get pulled off. We've had a request to pull this one off, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss it and vote on it. Any highlights that somebody wants to share?
Most importantly, what we're looking at here is volunteers, not individuals that are at the park and get injured, walking down the street and get injured. What we're talking about is, let's say that, like last year, or 2014, the Kiwanis re-shingled the park pavilion. And if someone got hurt during that, that's a volunteer. Someone, water distribution, when we did that, if they would have gotten hurt. Covers volunteers, not people just using the equipment to baseball, coach, that kind of situation.
We haven't had this?
If we don't have it and they get hurt, who's liable?
We are.
Without
Or we could be
insurance.
made liable, they would have to sue us rather than we'd be insured.
But even then, the court
We are,
fees would cost more.
what we are asking is, we are just going out to get a quote on
That's
We wanna
all
make
the
sure
motion
you-
is.
That's
Like
all
it.
it is,
Yep.
get a quote,
Yeah.
and get details from our insurance carrier what this covers.
And also to go ahead and do the 2015 regular work comp renewal.
Thank you.
There's actually two things. We're renewing with the League of Minnesota City to cover our work comp, and then we're authorizing to get a quote to go out to see what this coverage is. Basically, what I have received from my local agent is that it's between $850 and $1,000. That's because that price quote was based on 2013, so she's just verifying that quote. And then what the cost would be if we wanted to add medical to that. What the base fee is for disability, death, and impairment. And if we added a medical coverage on it, that's what she's trying to get the underwriters.
I think the one thing she told us, of the 11 cities she had, 8 of them have this, and the really, really small ones don't have it, that situation.
Can't imagine we wouldn't,
She
but
said that.
But we haven't had it in the past, so it's a little unique, but we've been tracking our volunteers and having them sign waivers more than we've ever had.
doctors used to smoke.
She has 6 other cities, and 4 of them have purchased.
In front of the patients.
Okay. So we do ask for a recommendation to adopt or renew the existing workers' comp policy.
Are you
Okay.
looking for a motion here?
Yes.
Yes, we can do it together if you want to,
And
or
make that
separately.
Second.
Is the motion to renew our workman's comp as well as checking on prices?
Yes.
and coverage
Yes to both, yes.
on both. Yes to both. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that makes sense, aye. Item 9 is the 2015-2016 settlement for the city administrator, department heads, and non-union supervisors. Any discussion on this? Is this, and this wasn't asked to be pulled off of consent?
No, sir.
Not
Yes.
So we need a motion on this one?
Yes,
Motion to
absolutely. Motion to approve as presented by Matt and second by Pritchett. Yes, sir.
Just for discussion, this is what we're proposing and the council has been adopting for the unions. So there's no, we're trying to keep a level playing field here for the.
We're not gonna get me too'd. All right. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there any others?
I do have a quick question
Yes.
about the parking lot, and I don't know that I want to bring it up now or just give it to you in the future to ever talk about, but our parking lots.
Which one?
All of them.
Uh-huh.
I asked Nikki about our parking lots, and I gotta see if I brought this stuff in with me, to give me information about, how many spots we actually have available, how many are being rented out right now, and all that other fun stuff. And this parking lot over here, by the post office, hardly any of them are being rented out right now. Oh, here it is. And I was just kind of looking at the money that we should, here, you guys can, the money that we should be bringing in with all of the spots. And I took out the city parking lot. You know, that's what the city parking lot should be bringing in. But we give out 15 employee parking spots, which equates to that dollar amount. And so that's why I wondered about the Rick Nolan's thing. It's like, we give them a parking lot. But there's 44 open spots in that Maple parking lot. So I guess my question and what I'd like for you, if we're not going to do it tonight, but maybe in the future if council can look at potentially maybe changing the rate to that Maple parking lot to $15. If you're going to up the rates in any of those, maybe if you did a 12-month contract, entice people to say we're not going to change the rates because the $10 lots and the $15 lots are almost all full. We're not going to change the rates for you if you sign a lease for 12 months. If you're not, we're going to bump it up $1 a month if you sign a 3-month contract, or $2 a month if you want to go month to month. I only had numbers through October, so it's just something to consider. We don't have to do anything tonight because I'm just giving it to you now. But you know, what the fact of the matter is we have 73 lots in that one, or 76, and most of it are open. 14 of them we just give away. So
Can we put this on next, and sometime, you want to see this on like the January agenda? Or do you want to see it like as part of our discussion of?
I don't know how you, yeah.
I would put this on the, what do you call that?
Workshop?
Yeah, the workshop.
A workshop agenda, okay?
Because we have, I believe our parking lots all lose money if you count maintenance and stuff and snow
Yeah,
plowing.
we're not covering snow plowing if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Right, and there's hardly any snow plowing over there, and as I was talking, there's a couple vehicles that haven't been moved in quite some time.
Right.
And so I would be concerned about that. The one that has 70, or the one over here in the bar part, the alley, referred to as the alley, there's a few that says 3 lots are not available, but after they did the reconfiguration, I think they all are available. So I just want to make sure we have numbers that coincide with really what should be coming into the city. And if we're losing out on that much money because we're keeping the price the way it is and they're not rentable that way, then you should do something. Lower the dollar.
Well, I might
get some
suggest that
money.
we're not losing money, we're not, you're looking at it from a perspective of unsold parking spots.
Right.
It actually costs us money to be in the parking lot business. That's what I'm suggesting it's worse than what you think.
I think so. I don't want to post that, but you can keep it with you. I'm keeping this binder though. They're hard to come by at my
And
house.
that's why we don't have the Civic Center anymore. Look what happened with that.
Yes.
That worked out okay.
I think we have just a motion to adopt the budget and the resolution.
Well, move